There's a feature on your computer right now that takes a screenshot of everything you do every few seconds. Your banking, your medical records, your private messages, your passwords as you type them, everything that appears on your screen captured, stored, and made searchable by an AI system. Microsoft calls it Recall. They announced it in May 2024 as a revolutionary productivity feature that would let you find anything you ever did on your computer just by describing it in plain language. What they did not lead with is that achieving that capability requires building a comprehensive photographic record of your entire digital life. I'm not describing a hypothetical future feature. I'm describing something that is either already on your machine or heading to it in the next update cycle, depending on your hardware. And the story of how it got there, what security researchers found when they tore it apart, and what you need to do about it right now is something Microsoft has never once proactively put in front of you in plain language. That is my job today. I used to give Microsoft the benefit of the doubt on this stuff. I was the person in comment sections defending forced updates, telling people the telemetry was fine, explaining that privacy policies exist for a reason, and at least they are transparent about it. I believed that. And then I started actually monitoring what my own system was doing, actually reading what security researchers were finding, actually paying attention to what happened when independent experts were given access to Recall before its public launch. What they found changed how I think about everything Windows is doing, and it should change how you think about it too. Let me walk you through exactly what Recall is, because the marketing version and the technical reality are two very different things. The marketing version is simple. Recall uses on-device AI to take periodic snapshots of your screen, indexes everything visible in those snapshots, and lets you search through your computer history using natural language. You can type something like that recipe I was looking at last Tuesday or the email I wrote about the budget meeting, and Recall will pull up a visual timeline of exactly what you were doing. Microsoft says all of this happens locally on your device. They say the data never leaves your machine. They say it is encrypted. They say you're in control. And technically, most of those statements are true in a narrow sense. But here is what those statements do not tell you. When Recall launched in preview to Windows insiders in May 2024, a security researcher named Kevin Beaumont got access to it almost immediately. What he found was that the database storing all of those screenshots was a plain text SQLite file sitting in a folder that any application running on your computer could read without elevated permissions. No encryption on the database itself, no meaningful access controls, just a file containing a searchable record of everything you had done on your computer, sitting there, readable by anything. Another researcher, named Alexander Hagenau, went further. He built a tool called Total Recall that could extract the entire Recall database in seconds. He demonstrated it working on disappearing messages, on passwords typed into login forms, on banking information, on private documents. The entire point of Recall, the comprehensive searchable archive of your screen activity, turned out to be exactly as useful to someone who wanted to steal your data as it was to you when you wanted to find something. It was a surveillance database with a productivity wrapper around it. That is not a conspiracy theory. That is what independent security researchers documented and published before the feature even shipped to the public. Microsoft delayed the launch, then delayed it again, then again. The original June 2024 date became October 2024, then December 2024, then April 2025. Each delay came with announcements of new security improvements. They made Recall opt-in instead of opt-out, so it would not be enabled by default. They added a requirement for device encryption. They added biometric authentication through Windows Hello to access the Recall timeline. They added a sensitive information filter designed to automatically detect and exclude things like credit card numbers, social security numbers, and passwords from the screenshots. Problem solved, right? Except it was not. Independent testing in August 2025 showed that the sensitive information filter was missing sensitive data regularly. Credit card numbers were still being captured when the surrounding context did not explicitly label them as such. Bank account balances, social security numbers appearing in documents, passwords visible in browser fields that were not immediately adjacent to the word password, all still showing up in the database. The filter is supposed to be smart enough to recognize what should not be captured. It is not. It is like a security guard who only stops thieves wearing a sign that says thief. Meanwhile, every other kind of sensitive information walks right through. And here is the thing that most coverage of Recall misses entirely. The encryption improvements Microsoft implemented protect the database from being read by other applications while Windows is running. That is real. But encryption protects data at rest, not data in use. When Recall is actively searching its database, when the AI is processing your screenshots, that data is unencrypted in memory. And sophisticated malware designed to target Recall specifically does not need to read the database file. It can intercept the data while it is being processed. The attack surface did not disappear, it shifted. The UK Information Commissioner's Office opened a formal investigation into Recall before it even launched in the UK. Kaspersky, one of the largest cybersecurity companies in the world, described it as presenting a vast exploitable surface for attackers. These are not fringe voices. These are the people whose job it is to evaluate exactly these kinds of risks. And their assessment was that the feature, even with Microsoft's improvements, represented a fundamentally new category of vulnerability on any machine that had it enabled. So here is what you actually need to do, and I want to be specific because the settings for this are not straightforward and Microsoft has not made them easy to find. The first thing you need to determine is whether your machine even has Recall. As of early 2026, Recall is only available on Copilot Plus PCs, which are machines with specific neural processing unit hardware that Microsoft designated as AI capable. If you bought a laptop or desktop in the last year or so, and it was marketed as a Copilot Plus PC, you have the hardware for Recall. If you are on older hardware, Recall is not on your machine yet. But the direction Microsoft is moving suggests that will change as more machines meet the requirements, and as Windows updates continue to expand the features availability. Check your system anyway. Open Settings, navigate to Privacy and Security, and scroll down until you see Recall and Snapshots. If that option is there, Recall is on your machine. The toggle at the top of that page controls whether snapshots are being saved. Turn it off. That is step one. But step one is not sufficient on its own, and this is where most guides stop, and they should not. Turning off the toggle stops new snapshots from being captured. It does not delete snapshots that have already been captured since the last time Recall was enabled. Scroll down on that same settings page until you find the option to delete Recall data. Delete all of it. Every snapshot that exists on your machine right now, gone. Do not skip this step. The snapshots that already exist are just as exploitable as new ones. While you are in the privacy and security settings, go through every other category on that page with the same level of attention. Location access, camera access, microphone access, voice activation. Every app that has permission to access these things should be reviewed. Most of them do not need those permissions. The default Windows 11 installation grants access far more generously than it should. And the only way to know what has access to what is to look at each category individually and revoke anything that does not have a clear reason to be there. This takes about 20 minutes if you do it properly. Most people have never done it once. Now, turning off Recall and cleaning up your permissions is necessary, but it is not the end of the conversation. Because Recall is not the only system on your machine collecting and storing information about what you do. Windows 11 has something called telemetry, and it is running whether you know about it or not. Go to Settings, Privacy and Security, Diagnostics and Feedback. Set diagnostic data to required only, which is the minimum Microsoft allows on consumer versions of Windows. Turn off Tailored Experiences, which is the setting that lets Microsoft use your diagnostic data to show you personalized recommendations, which is a polite way of saying targeted suggestions based on your usage patterns. Turn off Improving Inking and Typing, which sends samples of what you type and write to Microsoft servers. Delete your existing diagnostic data using the button on that same page. None of this fully stops telemetry because Microsoft does not give you that option on Home or Pro editions. You can reduce it significantly. You cannot eliminate it. That is a deliberate design decision. The only editions of Windows that allow telemetry to be set to the actual minimum, which Microsoft calls security level, are Enterprise and Education. Consumer versions of Windows are locked out of that setting. Your computer is sending data to Microsoft whether you want it to or not. The best you can do is minimize it, and you should do that right now. There are third-party tools that go further than Windows settings allow. O and O Shutup 10++ is one of the most well-known. It gives you granular controls over telemetry, advertising ID, Cortana data collection, location tracking, and dozens of other settings that Windows buries or does not expose at all. Run it, apply the recommended settings, and then check it again after every major Windows update, because updates have a documented history of resetting privacy settings back to Microsoft's preferred defaults. This is not a one-time fix. This is maintenance. Windows will attempt to undo your settings. You have to stay on top of it. For people who are more technically inclined, monitoring your network traffic using a tool like Wireshark will show you exactly what domains your computer is contacting and how frequently. What you will see is a machine that is in constant communication with Microsoft servers, sending data, receiving configuration updates, checking licenses, doing things in the background that are never fully disclosed. Some of that is legitimate and necessary. Some of it is data collection that you would not have agreed to if they had asked directly. The honest reality of Windows 11 in 2026 is that your computer is a product that Microsoft controls, and you are paying for the privilege of using it while they extract value from your behavior. Recall made that visible in a way that was impossible to ignore. But recall is not the disease. It is a symptom. The disease is an operating system that has been redesigned over years to serve its manufacturer's interests, alongside and sometimes ahead of yours. Understanding that actually seeing it in your settings, in your network traffic, and your privacy dashboard is not paranoia. It is just paying attention. Your computer is your most personal tool. It contains your financial life, your health information, your creative work, your private communications, your plans and fears, and the things you looked up when you did not know where else to turn. You deserve to know exactly what is happening on that machine. You deserve to make informed choices about what it shares and with whom. And you deserve an operating system that respects those choices instead of designing around them. So go do this today. Settings, privacy and security, recall and snapshots, off, delete all data. Then go through every other privacy category on that page. Then diagnostics and feedback, required only. Tailored experiences off, delete diagnostic data, download O and O Shutup 10++, apply the recommended settings, keep it updated. Set a reminder to check all of this again after every major Windows update. This is not complicated. It takes less than an hour, and it is the difference between using your computer and letting your computer use you.